Hey guys, we're here at the Bassmasters Classic. I'm about to break down for you exactly what rods that I like to use when I'm out there fishing for a lot of different techniques. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe right there in that bottom left corner. Right corner if you're looking at it, my left corner. Anyways, thanks guys. Check out the video right after this. Frankie sweeping. Frankie. Alright guys, we're here at the Bassmasters Classic. It's getting ready to kick off here at the expo, so this is the only time that I had to just run through a video real quick and explain to you exactly what rods that I like for a lot of different techniques. Now, are we going to cover every technique today? Probably not. But hey, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into this. The first rod I'm going to talk to you about is a rod that's absolutely my favorite. You've heard me talk about it before, and that's the Magnum hammer. So the Magnum hammer, as you see here, that is a rod that is in a lot of different lines. So as you can see, there's a bunch of different rod models that Lew's makes, but this one in particular, this is the custom light rod. The Magnum hammer is very consistent throughout the entire rod line. It's a 7.3 medium heavy. This is the rod that I like to use when I'm throwing a thunder cricket, red-eyed shad, square bill crankbait. I mean, it really, I use a lot of things. A spinnerbait, I'll even throw a spinnerbait on this rod. We make a Magnum hammer in a lot of different affordable rod options, whether it's the custom series, the custom light, all the way to the high-end rod series of the custom pros. I use the custom pros primarily, but this is a good rod model example. So, one of my other favorites, actually I got, the other day, I got a message at what spinnerbait rod do you like the best? And there's only one spinnerbait rod that I like, and it's going to surprise you a little bit. So this is the custom speed stick here, and it's not a spinnerbait rod. It's just not. I don't like throwing it on a spinnerbait rod. This is actually the Worm Rod 1. This is a 7-foot medium heavy, moderate fast action. So not to confuse it with the Mag Bass Rod 1, which is in a very popular rod series in the Lew's lineup. This is the Worm Rod 1. The Worm Rod 1 has a little bit more tip, so I can throw a 3/8, half, 3/4 ounce spinnerbait. I can roll cast it around. That 7 foot is the perfect length for throwing that spinnerbait and rolling it around cover. You're going to see this on my deck a lot, especially this time of year, early spring, where I'm throwing a big Colorado spinnerbait, single blade. For whatever reason, this rod loads up as good or better than any rod that I've used. It doesn't pull the hook out of the fish's mouth, and it's easy to manage the bait. I mean, that's really, it's not as easy to find as what you think. And obviously, there's some people struggling finding the perfect spinnerbait rod. But next, I want to talk to you about a rod that is extremely inexpensive that Lew's makes. So, if you've known anything about me, I'm not one of the guys that I'm just going to go buy the highest end gear that we make. I'm going to use a little bit of everything. I actually like using some of our like Mach stuff, our low end stuff, because it's really good stuff. This is the new speed stick that we made. I only throw this in one rod model, but it's a 6.6 medium action. Okay, I'm old school to a certain degree. I like throwing, if I'm throwing a popper, like a popping style topwater, a sexy dog, a prop bait, a jerkbait, a deep diving jerkbait, a shallow diving jerkbait, I throw it all on this rod. This came from Jason Christie. Jason Christie uses a Falcon rod, and they're all good too. But he got me hooked on this. It's 6.6 medium. It has a short cork handle, but the rod's extremely light and balanced. So when I go to throw a jerkbait or a topwater, that handle's not hitting me in the stomach the whole time. And the rod's short enough that I'm not hitting the water or hitting my boat every time I jerk it down. And that's a big key on throwing a topwater or a jerkbait, is finding a rod that works for that technique. And this rod, at the price point of $79, it's really hard to beat. But that's the one I choose for my topwaters and jerkbaits. I mean, it's just a really good rod. Next is the rod that I won Cherokee on. This is the Dock Sniper rod. This is it's a 611 medium extra fast rod. It's perfect for a wacky rig, Ned rig, things like that. I'm a big believer in when I pick my rods, I want them to do multiple things. I don't want a rod that's super specialty to like, I only do this with it or I only do that. I want to have a good, selection of rods for everything that I like to do. I don't like changing up rods too terribly much. So like, for instance, on a Thunder Cricket Red-Eyed Shad Square Bill, I throw the hammer rod. So you see where I'm going here? Like, I use one rod for a bunch of different techniques. It's more of a comfortability thing, I think, more than anything. And I know exactly how that rod handles it, how it fights, and things like that. One rod that I've actually gotten to where I use it a lot, and that is the Super Duty 2. The Super Duty series comes in the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can see it right there where it says Super Duty 2. This is a rod that I like to throw glide baits on. And I'm not saying like 10-inch glides. I'm talking like 7-inch, like negotiators. That new Arashi glide, I throw it on this Super Duty 2. It has a lot of tip to it, but a ton of backbone. And that's what you need on those glide baits. You don't want it to be so overwhelming that it pulls the hook out of the fish's mouth. It needs to be able to load, but be able to bite them whenever you get them. And it's also a great A-rig rod. If you're an A-rig fisherman, you need to get you one of these Super Duty rods. This is the one I recommend for all my friends. You know, I get a lot of messages and calls from buddies of mine. They're like, hey man, I need an A-rig rod. This is your A-rig rod right here. Like, no questions asked. This is a rod that y'all seen me talk about a ton, and that's the jig worm rod. It says the most versatile worm rod that Lew's makes. Whether you're throwing a 10-inch worm, straight tail worm, anything, speed worm, get you a jig worm rod. It's a Ledge series rod. It's designed by Mark Rose. It's kind of deceiving. It calls it a 7.2 heavy mod fast rod. It is a little heavier. If you don't like heavier rods, this probably isn't the one for you. I just personally like it. It fits the bill for what I like. And I mean, most of the time you're fishing a worm on the bottom in 5 to 10 to 15 foot of water, and you need that little bit more backbone to it to actually get that hook set. And that's a big key when you're looking at rods. But now I'm going to kind of change gears a little bit. So everybody knows that, you know, these are a handful of rods that I really like, and I can go into more detail if y'all like. So just make sure you drop a comment below and let me know if that's something that y'all like to see. But I'm going to change gears, and I'm going to talk about a couple combos that Lew's makes. And, you know, we can't all afford these high-end rods and all this stuff, and I get it. And sometimes you just want a rod combo that kind of fits the bill of what you're looking for. And in that case, my very first and favorite one is the Mach 2 combo. And I'm going to tell you why. So recently I shot a TV show with Scott Martin Challenge up in Canada. And Lew's asked me to take some of our Mach stuff, whether it was a Mach Smash, Mach Crush, Mach 2, and try them out and tell them what I thought about them. I'm telling you right now, without a doubt, the Mach 2 has become one of my favorite combos that we've ever made. I actually still use the reel. I don't use the rod anymore because dummy me dropped it in the fan, or put it in the fan and broke the tip off. I break stuff. I can't help it. Like, it just happens sometimes. But let me tell you though, this Mach 2 combo, and the one I use is a 7-foot medium heavy, fast action taper. But the thing is it's actually a little lighter. So this isn't a rod that I would throw a worm on, like a Texas rig worm. I'd throw like a weightless worm, like an Ocho or a Cinco or something like that. But this combo is actually what I was throwing my Thunder Cricket on. I don't know why. I'm not gonna sit here and explain some science behind it. But I never missed a fish on this combo. When you're talking about throwing a moving bait, you want something that has the perfect tip and the perfect backbone, and I don't know why, but this rod is perfect. It just is. It's just a perfect combo for throwing moving baits. You need to check that one out. And last but not least is the custom black combo. This is it's a really a similar rod to the TP1 Black, which most of you know is one of my favorite rods. Has the VTR, has a really high-end reel. This is probably one of the highest-end combos that Lew's makes. But this particular one is in a 7.3 medium heavy fast. It's a little bit stiffer rod. This was one that they sent me as well. This is what I like throwing my swim jig on. So if I'm throwing a heavy cover swim jig, like a hack attack swim jig, and I'm keeping it high in the water, and I'm throwing it on braid, like 30-pound Strike King braid, and I'm fluttering it across flooded grass, this is actually the rod that I like to use. And I'm telling you, like, people think I'm joking. You can look at pictures from the last few years. I'm in tour level events, and I'm using Mach products. I'm using some of our lowest end gear that Luz makes. And it's just because some of it's just really good. And I think that's what people kind of overlook, is they get so caught up in, oh, I need the most expensive thing that I can physically afford. And that's not the case. Sometimes you can get away with some really good gear, because at the end of the day, your rod isn't the reason you find or catch the fish. Is it the reason you get the fish in the boat? Sometimes, yeah, if you're using the wrong gear. But hopefully this video will kind of break that down for you and explain to you exactly what you need to look for when you're on the water next time. But hey, you know, the cool thing is, I'm not going to drop a link for all of this gear, because obviously I just threw a bunch of it at you. I'll drop a link for some of it. If there is one that you want to see, or if you need more information on, like a rod or rod series, drop that comment below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you again, everybody, for watching everything. I'm sorry about all the background noise. I know some people get really frustrated with that. But when you're at the Classic, there's going to be noise. And it's just how it is. So, again, thank you all. I hope you catch a big old bass on one of these rods. Thanks, guys.